Good morning, Westminster. Get you a cup of coffee, pull up a chair, and join us for this morning's Good Morning Westminster program. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, Ken.
And good morning, Boyd.
Hello, Carol. Hello, Ken. How are you today?
Good. Well, Thanksgiving and Black Friday are behind us. And Boyd, did you have enough to eat? I bet you probably did. I know Ken had enough to eat.
I never get enough leftovers. Chuck Morse gave me a leftover recipe for turkey panini, which I'm going to try. I haven't tried yet, but I'm going to. It's a slice of turkey, stuffing, cranberries, a slab of brie cheese on rye bread, and a panini press. How does that sound?
Oh my gosh,
That's
that
pretty
sounds
good.
great.
Pretty good.
Hey, well, listen, while you're cooking that up, let's bring everybody up to date on the puzzle contest.
Yeah, we had two winners, so it was a tie.
Could you give us the riddle again?
Give us a riddle again, Carol.
Okay. Looking for one word answer. The rich have too little of it. The poor have too much of it. Stronger than God, and if you eat it, you will die. I'm sorry, I had to get my brain going here. If you eat it, you will die. So that's and the answer is the word nothing.
Nothing.
Well,
yeah.
The rich have, they have everything, so they have much enough. But the poor, they have nothing.
They have nothing.
Yeah, they have nothing. Stronger than God. Well, nothing is stronger than God. And if you eat nothing, guess what? You will die. So nothing was the word. And
we had two winners, Boyd. One of them is Helen Spear, and the other is Charlie Schaefer.
Charlie Schaefer, who is he? Is he a resident?
He's a resident in Nevada. You know, I learned that about 10 seconds ago, and I'm kind of dumbfounded. But Ken sends him the links to these shows, and he loves to see them. He's my brother, and he loves watching anything we can send him a link to that we're doing here. He likes watching it. But I guess he got carried away and put in the answer. I didn't see it there.
He's your brother.
He's my brother. I do want to say something.
He couldn't.
I want to say something.
Yeah.
What?
I was going to say.
Well, I want to tell him.
Go ahead.
I want to tell him there's an out-of-state fee. So that he neglected to send, he can just send a $200 check to me. That's apartment 208. And then you can enter as many times as you want.
Oh, that's an all-time lifetime fee. That seems reasonable. But
yeah,
the problem, I have two problems with Charlie's entry. One, he's a relative, and if you remember the rules and regulations, you want me to repeat them?
Oh, no. We'll take your word for it. No.
The rules and regulations don't allow for relatives, I don't think, of the three of us. And the other thing is the rules don't allow for non-residents. So I think we'll have to declare the resident who also got it correct, the winner. But Charlie, we can send him an honorary certificate of not good in the little store for $10, so he can frame it and put it on his wall, because you know, it's the glory, the honor of the thing and not the money. I'm sure he's not
Yeah,
interested.
that's right.
We'll do
No,
that.
he was doing it for shock value, I think.
That's
And
right.
he got it always.
Good
Yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah.
And who was our winner?
Helen Spear.
Helen
Just got
Spear.
right
My
on it.
goodness. Well, good for Helen.
Yes, yes. And she said she's really enjoying our show and she gets up earlier than she ever used to get up so that she can watch the show.
Well,
So
I'm glad. I'm glad we're contributing to a healthy lifestyle around
right,
Westminster.
right.
Amen.
Okay.
So
What
Helen
else?
can pick up her gift certificate at any time from Ruth Sanil. Congratulations.
Now, Boyd, I hear you have a riddle for this week, right?
I do. So here goes. What word has 15 letters and has two pairs of the same consonant?
I got it. I got it.
You
What?
do?
Whippersnapper.
Oh, yeah. That sounds
Oh,
good.
sorry, wrong. That only has 14 letters, but that's the idea. It has two sets of P's. So the winning the answer, the winning answer, has similar double letters like that.
Well, all I can think of is hillbilly. So that's two sets of L's, but what, is that too short?
Yeah, that's too short. So I'll give one more clue. The word starts with an F.
Oh, shoot. So it's not Mississippi.
No, it isn't Mississippi. That's right. It isn't. So so that's the contest for this week.
Okay, well, listen, those of you who got that and you want to participate, send your entry to goodmorningcontest@gmail.com. That's goodmorningcontest@gmail.com. The prize is a $10 gift certificate at the little store.
Well, keep those entries coming in, and I'll repeat the puzzle at the end for those of you who don't have a pencil and paper, and the address. So,
And scan your mail. If anything comes from Nevada,
that's
you
right.
just tell them we haven't gotten an entry check yet.
I didn't really realize we had a national audience, but it makes me proud.
Yeah, how about that? How about that?
So, and also Thanksgiving always makes me reminisce. Does it affect you that way, Carol?
Thanksgiving always makes me remember. Mother fixed a wonderful big meal, and Dad, he did have a law degree from UT, never missed. For decades that game with the Aggies, A&M and UT, was on Thanksgiving Day.
Absolutely.
Finally, I don't know when, maybe 10 years ago or something, they moved it to a Friday or a Saturday. So I'm sure that made a lot of women happy. Anyway, Mother would fix this great meal and Daddy would be in the living room watching the game. And first of all, she made him come to the table, but he could leave the sound on. But then he was always listening like this, and if he heard crowd noise, he'd jump up from his chair and run in the living room to see what happened. So finally she said, no, we'll have it during the halftime. So she would watch and she'd try to get the food out right before the halftime. I remember one time when, for some reason, maybe there was an injury, halftime went forever. I mean, before it even started. And she kept saying, come on. And he'd say, it's not halftime. Anyway, that's my main memory of Thanksgiving, is trying to please Mother with the food and please my dad with watching the game. So that's my Thanksgiving memory of childhood.
That's a great story.
One time, it was on Thanksgiving, my daughter Molly had gone to school at Emory and had graduated and had gotten a job and gotten an apartment off campus and was having some friends over for Thanksgiving. She'd been working on it for several days. And she'd call me a couple of times to ask different questions about how to do the turkey and that sort of thing. And she called me about noon and said, she said, Dad, I'm having trouble. And I said, well, did you take the giblets out? And she said, oh, yes, I took the giblets out. And I said, well, did you stuff the turkey with dressing and celery and that sort of thing? She said, oh, yeah, it's all stuffed. I've got the legs tied. It's in the oven. I said, well, what's the problem? It says, well, it's still white. It hasn't, and the people will be here in an hour. And I said, what's the temperature on? She says, I got it on 175. And that never worked. You better turn it up to 375 and tell them you're going to do dinner instead of lunch.
I have to add something about giblets, can I?
Yeah.
When I cooked my first turkey after I was first married, I thought I was doing so well. I got it in the oven and everything, and I was seeing to the other dishes. And Mother always made this gravy with stuff in it. So I called her long distance. I guess kids.
Where do I get the stuff?
Yeah. And I said, what's that stuff you put in the gravy? She said, that's the giblets. And I said, well, what are they? And she said, well, it's little like leftover parts of the turkey. I said, well, how do you get them? And she said, they were in that bag that came in the turkey. And I said, bag?
What
What
bag?
bag? Yeah. And she said, oh, no. Anyway, I can't tell you how many women over the years have said, I did the same thing. I didn't even know there was a bag of giblets in there. But anyway.
Kitty did the same thing too.
See?
Really?
See?
Yeah, that's right.
Good. Well, it wasn't just me.
She'll deny it, but she did. I was there. So.
And Boyd, you have some story about A&M too, don't you?
Well, yeah, Kitty and I, our first date was a road trip to A&M to watch the Thanksgiving Day game down there, and Texas won, of course. So it was a nice day. And when we got back to her folks' house, well, they had saved us enough leftovers. Maybe that's where I learned got my taste for leftovers, but they'd saved us to Thanksgiving dinner, so we had it at the Brown's house that evening. Great memory for me.
Oh, yeah.
I was at that time I had graduated from law school, and our class was the only ones, I think, that had its own distinctive law school ring that did not look like a UT ring. It didn't have a stone in it. It was just a plain gold ring with Peregrinus, the law school mascot, on one side and the year on the other. And so I had my ring on, and I noticed we were sitting around the table, and Kitty's family were all there, and Hiram they were all, checking me out because, they had never met me. And he kept looking at my ring, and he said, is that an A&M ring? What is that ring? And I said, well, that's the law school ring. And he just shook his head because he never had much good things to say about lawyers anyway. So, He was
you must have made up for it.
He was an engineer. So if we have time, I'll tell you my law school story. Speaking of that,
we have plenty of time.
Yeah.
So law school and the School of Engineering had a feud that went back to the beginning. I think 1907 was the first time that they had a fight on the grounds outside the old main building between the two student bodies, and so it had just developed over the years that a prank. One would do a prank, the other would retaliate. The engineer stole a law school mascot, and then the lawyer stole the engineer's mascot and had a fake trial and decapitated him with a fake guillotine. So things like that. And so it just went on and on. And so the first year I was in law school, the engineers had done something particularly hideous the year before, and we were told that it was up to the first year laws to take care of that. So we had to decide what to do. And so a group of us, we formed a committee, of course, which anytime you get 3 or 4 lawyers together, well, they got to have a committee of some kind. So we formed a committee to get retaliation, and it turned out that the engineers were excavating under the engineering building at the time. They were excavating and putting in a coffee room, rec space or meeting space for the students, and they called it the Dean Taylor's Tea Room. I think Taylor was the dean of the engineering school at the time, and they had a mascot, and the mascot was a gopher, and they were so proud of that darn gopher. They paraded him around. They had pictures in the Daily Texan. I mean, it was just disgusting. And so we decided that we would kidnap their gopher. And so we showed up at the engineering school reception desk there, and said I introduced myself as a reporter from the Austin American-Statesman, and my friend George Terry was with me, and he had a big box camera like Superman's buddy used to carry, in the comic strips. It looked pretty official. And then we had a getaway car out in the back, waiting at the street, and another person who was along as my assistant reporter. And so they called a kid that knew where the gopher was, and we explained we wanted to run a story about the gopher. Would they bring it out so we could see it and take a picture? And oh yeah, so they brought the gopher out, and I said, well, we need a bigger shot. Can we take it out on the lawn, on the sidewalk in front of the building? And he carried it out there. It was heavy, the case was, and so he set it down, and I said, well, we really need more students. Can you go round up some more students so we'll get a good picture of all of them with the gopher? And he said, sure. And he trotted off. And as soon as he left, we grabbed the box and put it in the trunk of the getaway car and left. So
what a great trip.
So then we called the American-Statesman and told him we had the gopher, and we called the Daily Texan. And so we made the press there for a couple of days. We took the box with the gopher, the cage, and paraded it around the law school. We were in disguise. I think I have a picture of that. If you'll bear with me a second.
I want to see that.
So.
Looky there.
Looky there.
Yeah. So the engineering student said, well, he should have been suspicious of that so-called reporter. They said, can you give a description of him? He said, well, he had slow eyes. S-L-O-E. He was a slow-eyed reporter. And so that was how I was described.
Wow.
So this is that's me there with the bolo tie and the sack over my head. That's my friend Bill McKnight, who was on the committee, and this is my friend George Terry, who is holding the gopher, and who was the fake photographer. Well, George took the gopher home with him to keep it, and we tried to decide what to do. I mean, some of us wanted to stuff it, and George got so attached to the gopher that he would not let any harm come to it under any condition, and so nobody recognized any of us, amazingly, except George. And George he wore this bow tie. And somebody said, that's George Terry. And so George gets a call from Dean Nowotny, the Dean of Men. And he said, George, I know you have that gopher. Now, don't lie to me. You've been identified. And George kind of mumbled, and he said, George, if that gopher is not in my office by 12 noon tomorrow, you're expelled. So and hung up. So we had a committee meeting, and all of us said, well, George, he's not going to expel you over this. This is just a prank. And George said, yes, he is. The gopher's going back. And so he returned the gopher. And that was the end of that. So.
Wow.
Boyd, I remember when I was at UT and at other times, there were a lot of pranks back and forth. It seems like mascots, like the little terrier that the Aggies had, were stolen all the time. And I was wondering Did anybody ever try to mess with Bevo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You remember
Oh.
Ken, don't you? The Aggies kidnapped Bevo and branded him with the score of a football game.
13-0. Was it 13-0?
Yeah, something like that. And so they had to try to, when they got him back, they had to try to repair that
Oh.
brand. Maybe they branded him A&M and they repaired it to read 13-0 or something. I don't know. But yeah, Bevo.
That's where Bevo came
Bevo
from.
would come from.
They branded over it. You
Yeah.
remember, with a branding iron, and made it Bevo instead of.
In Roman
That's what they
numerals.
did. Yeah, they made it Bevo. So so that's why they have such security. I don't know that we ever were able to kidnap Reveille, the dog.
No.
I don't remember it. The
Oh, I
Aggies,
thought so, but maybe not.
maybe we did. I don't know, but I think the Aggies were better guards probably than we were. So.
Yeah.
Boy, I love that story. Well, what else is going on at Westminster this week?
Well, let me look. I've lost my place. Bear with me a second. I have this new system here that's supposed to work, and it doesn't.
Boy, let me just mention that I went into law school also.
Oh, I had forgot that, Ken. What year did you graduate?
Well, I never did. I tell you what happened. I had a perfect situation. I could go to law school during the daytime and then the law library. And it worked out just fine. Then I had a part-time job at Green Pastures working for my mom and dad. And I made a lot of money as a waiter, which paid my way in law school. Anyway, one day we were doing these parties at Green Pastures and my nephew was there and he says, "I think there's a fire upstairs." And I said, "What?" So we ran upstairs and sure enough, it was one of those blustery northern winter days where a northern blown in it was in March 1965. And the wind, my mother had a big fire in the fireplace and the sparks got on the shingle roof and the roof caught on fire.
Oh my goodness.
So we started carrying stuff out and getting people out. So you got to get out because there's a fire, and the fire department came and they put out a lot of it, but a lot of the old part of the Green Pastures was burned. The new part, the kitchen, cotillion room and the kitchen, was not burned.
Uh-huh.
So my mother and dad said, "We've had it. You just stay here and get this thing built back. We're leaving." So they moved to the Cambridge Towers. And so I remember I had to call Dean Keaton. I said, we've had a little problem out here. I may not be able to go to law school for a little while because I got to rebuild Green Pastures after this fire." I said, "Oh, I heard about the fire. It's devastating. Well, go ahead and we'll save you a spot." Well,
we'll save you a spot. Yeah.
A spot for law school. We'll save you a place. Well, 15 years later, I got a letter from the law school saying, "We can no longer hold your spot after January 1st, 1979, or when it was." And so
did you spring into action and re-enroll?
Yeah, right. I was like 90 years old at the time. No, we were so busy then. We had 6 restaurants at that time. There's no way I could go, but they were all very supportive.
You were the food czar. You were the restaurant czar of Austin. Yeah, but that's big work. That's really a great story. So tonight, Westminster residents present Poetry Night at 7 p.m. on Channel 1890. And you can hear some of your favorite and some new poems read by residents. And at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, there's a launch party for the fall edition of the Writer's Journal. It's a Zoom webinar and everyone's invited. It'll be rebroadcast the next day. The fall edition of the Writer's Journal.
Oh, wow. When will it be available for sale? When can I get one?
Well, they go on sale that day at the little store. And then there's a holiday bazaar on Friday. They'll be on sale there. And then there'll be tables in the lobbies in the marketing lobby and the Preston lobby the following week, staffed by volunteers where people that can buy one there. And you don't need cash. You don't need a check. You can charge the journal to your Westminster account. So there's you don't need to worry about bringing money or cash to either of those events.
So they're going to be able to have a bazaar this year, huh?
Yeah, it's going to be on Friday from 10 to 2. They're going to have quite a few tables. Most of them are resident or resident relatives, things to be merchandised. Won't be as many outside vendors this year. And it'll be limited to 30 people in Harrisville Hall at a time. But there'll still be an opportunity for people to go up and do some Christmas shopping next Friday. So that should be a lot of fun.
Hey, Boyd, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Isn't today the last day you can contribute to the Residents Appreciation Fund, the 30th?
It is. It closes today, and we're going to make the determination of how much we'll have available to distribute tomorrow. So if you haven't gotten your check in, please do so. We're doing very well, but we can use that little extra push to get us over the top. And any money that comes in late and is not distributed this year will be put in the fund to give us a jump start on next year's contribution, next year's holiday fund. So even if you are late, we can still, we'd still like to have your money. Thank you for mentioning that. Yes.
You want to repeat your riddle before we have to go here?
Yeah, I will. It's 15 letters. It starts with an F, and it has 2 sets of the same double consonant. So that should be easy. The entries can be should be sent to westminsterpuzzle@gmail.com. That's not right. It's I had it right.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning contest at gmail.com. Excuse me. Good morning contest at gmail.com, and the entry deadline is Wednesday at noon. Anything else, folks?
I think that's it.
Well, it's been fun chatting with you today. And so all you viewers out there, thank you for watching, and tune in next Monday morning at 8:30 here on channel 1890. In the meantime, stay safe and stay well. So bye, Carol. Bye, Ken.
Bye, Boyd. It was fun.
It was fun. And this is always the hard part, finding the recording section here.